We're going to kick it off first again with our industry power pack panel. So you know I had to start first, man, with the legendary, hold up, the legendary Patchwerk Recording Studio, 21 years and running, okay? Clap for that, 21 years though. So I got to call down the studio owner, co-founder of the legendary Patchwerk Recording Studios, Mr. Curtis Daniels III. Please come to the front. Over 250 gold and platinum records we've worked on in 21 years. So that's kind of like a big deal, okay? So next up, I gotta get down with the CEO, TJ's DJ's manager, superstar B.o.B, Scotty ATL, the one and only TJ Chapman. Will you please come to the front, please? Next up, we have the manager of the Gucci, Mr. October. You know, Young Thug, Keyshia Ka'oir, Amina Diop, please come to the front. Where you at? Where you at? Oh, she's looking at, she's on the phone, working now. Man, work just don't stop. All right, so next up, I got the host of the Dirty Boy Show on 107.9, E.T. Cali. Where you at, man? Come on up, my friend, come on up. A diverse man. Also an artist. I mean, this dude is multitasking. That's what you have to be in this industry. Next up, I got the legendary, the only one, the first lady of Block ENT, MMG. Now get Kris Kelli. She's already on her way up. Come on up. Come on up. This is not the first time she's done this, so come on up. Next up, I got the lady of Word Inc. PR, award-winning publicist and author who spanned her career all the way back to LaFace Records, man. And she also manages the one and only DJ Prince's Cut. Can you come on up, Tamiko Hope? Hey! Come on up. And then, do we have Mr. the A&R of Atlantic Records, former manager Trey Songz, K. Michelle, Delante will be here soon, okay? All right. So what we're going to go ahead and do is get rocking, folks. What I want to do is start with Mr. Curtis Daniel. Again, 21 years of running the Patchwerk Recording Studios. You deal with artists, you deal with the engineers. What I want to do is talk about the whole idea of even how that came to be.
Managing the studio, when we started in the studio a long time ago, when I first got here, I noticed that the studios didn't pay engineers. The engineers weren't employed by the studio, and so really it kind of left the engineers out there as independent contractors. So you would, as a studio would get his purchase order or get paid from the client, and then the engineer would have to go out there and chase down his money. One of the biggest things that I noticed about the studios were people kept telling me that a studio needed to have a vibe. And so I thought to myself, well, what kind of vibe is it creating if I'm TJ's engineer and he ain't paid me in 3 months and I gotta sit in a room and work for him? So that's when I basically said that we as a studio, we should actually employ the engineers, take out their taxes, put them on the payroll, and they wouldn't have to worry about collecting money anymore. Not even have to book their sessions, deal with their schedules or anything. So in my own dumb mind, I just thought that that would create a great vibe, because every day that they came up to work, they never had to worry about collecting any money. And then for them, just to be able to get a W-2 at the end of the year so they can, do taxes, get a loan on the house and be legit was a big thing. So I was managing the studio, and I never put any engineers on paper or anything, but I started managing the engineers and their scheduling and booking, and then if other clients wanted them to work outside of the studio, I started doing that as well. So that's kind of how I stumbled upon that. But doing the studio, for us, really for 21 years, it's the same story. We just sell a customer service. So I'm just trying to be ready when you guys come there to work and create an atmosphere that you guys can feel comfortable creating in.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is pass the mic to TJ. TJ, so again, a lot of people don't know that, again, when it comes to these mixers and showcases, you're like one of the first to honestly start that. How did you transition
from hosting one of like the hugest mixers and showcases in the southern east of the country to managing some of the premier artists that we have out here today?
Yeah, I started managing probably about 1991. And the craziest thing was one of the first people that I managed, actually, I was in school at FAMU. And so the first dude that I managed was a rapper who's now a big-time movie director named Rob Hardy. He has a company called Reinforced Films. It's Rob Hardy and Will Packer. They were business partners, and Will Packer's like the top director in the game right now.
Real quick, take me through like your daily routine. As far as, like I said, some of the things that you manage now. When you wake up in the morning, what's some of the things, take me through a typical day of TJ Chapman?
I mean, the first thing I do when I wake up is I gotta go through email.
Right.
You know, that's like a process. I get like literally thousands of emails, whether it be stuff dealing with my artists, Scotty ATL, B.o.B. I just recently picked up a new Def Jam signee, Trap Beckham. So that's one of my newest artists that I manage. But then I still got my own brand and the TJ DJ stuff. And then after that, it's going through social media. Because people try to get at you the messed up thing about social media is good and bad. But the messed up thing about it is people now try to get at you every which way that you can imagine. So it's not like it's just everybody coming through email or everybody calling. So it's like business is being handled on Twitter, unfortunately, on Snapchat, on Instagram, like all these things. And then get on my business and handle all the calls and deal with the artists and put out these fires, and it don't never stop. It's a non-stop 24/7 operation, and especially B.o.B. so international. So we on different time zones. I'm dealing with the people in Singapore, they up when we sleep, or the people in London, or you know what I'm saying. So it's always something.
Queen Amina, how did you even get into this business? How did you come about? We want to know. We want to know.
I have no idea. I don't know how the hell I got into it, but I need to get out. I did my internship at Spirit Records. I did my internship at Spirit Records when I was a junior in college, and I was like, well, this is cool. You get to wear whatever you want. And Tasha Stafford was the lady that was running that label, and she had like a real big Benz. Like cool leather pants. I was like, oh, dude, I need to do money. I don't know what I'm in school for, but this is what it is. I went to school for international business and global marketing, and I just ended up in the industry.
Okay, so we'll pass the mic to Mr. E.T. Cali. Now, E.T., again, you being one of the premier hosts of the Dirty Boy Show 107.9, I want to talk about, again, you see a lot of artists that even come in to your show, or they want to get interviews, things of that sort. What's some of the things that you've noticed as far as like artists, between the artist and management, preparation even for some of your shows? Like, how has that worked as far as dealing with the management aspect? Coming in, are they prepared? Does it seem like, you know, even with the manager?
People that come on my show, a lot of the times it's people having titles without understanding what that shit means. So, that is, a lot of times people come on my show and I let them have the stage so that they can have their mistake. You know, people have a manager's title or they have an artist title and don't know what the hell it means. And they just in there and they like, I got this hot song. And I said, says who? And man, I'm telling you, man, you gotta ask anybody. I was like, okay, well, I'm in 6 clubs a week, from Gwinnett to Lawrenceville to College Park to the east side to the west side, and sometimes I'm hosting out of state. I've never heard of your song. So who said you're hot again? So a lot of times, I think preparation and strategy is lost when it comes to artists. I don't think anyone plans anymore. I don't even think the manager plans anymore. They just kind of, they roll with the title. And they just say, I'm the manager. And it's like, okay, well, what are you managing? And it's like, well, man, I watch his Instagram and his social media. I'm like, an assistant can do that. Like, a manager brings things to the table and opens up doors that an artist can't. That's what a manager does. They do things behind the scene while the artist is working, so that when the artist comes out of the booth, the manager says, this is your itinerary right here, this is what you got coming up. That's what a manager does. So preparation when they come to my show, there probably is maybe them two, and I can maybe think about two others that come on my show that are actually prepared and know what's going on. But I could probably count on one hand how many people actually come that are prepared. Sorry.
Kris Kelli, can you piggyback off that, being that you are a premier artist as well? What I want to talk about from your perspective is, again, what are the characteristics you look for prior to the management that you have now? What are some of the things that you were looking for?
Well, I'm coming from Kingston, Jamaica, born and raised. You understand? We got the artists then. But anyway, no, coming from Jamaica, it kind of taught me I had to really sit down, really learn the music business. Because remember, I was not doing what I'm doing now. What I'm doing now is more pop music. I created my own genre called dirty pop because I feel like everybody's kind of doing the same thing. What can I do to stand out from everybody else? Let me create my own genre. You understand? But it took years and years of me working diligently on my own with the support of a few family and friends, of course. Big up to my mom and dad. Obviously, they've been there from day one. And they always kind of push me in a direction where you always strive for the best. Never ever think you have too much ambition. If you see yourself there, work towards that. You understand? So anytime, when I left Jamaica and I came up here, I was really on a mission of finding the best of the best. And I said to myself, because of my knowledge of being in the music business by that time was about 9 years professionally. I mean, touring the world and doing everything, doing reggae and dancehall music. So everybody in reggae and dancehall territories knew who I was. You understand? But I wanted to take my music to a whole other level. And for me to do that, I had to find a manager that I call him a bully. But yeah, you have to kick down doors. And that's what it is, because this business is not just what you see on Instagram. It's not just what you see in music videos. It's all a relationship game. And I see that firsthand with everybody. When I sit down and I watch my manager, big up to Black, he's not here, but when I sit down and I see him, when I'm in the booth, as E.T. said, Black have everything lined up for me. You understand? Things that I would never be able to do as an artist. A manager is supposed to be able to position the artist in the right way. You understand? And Black knows where I want to be, when I want to be. You understand? So we're working towards it. I'm not the type of artist that says, listen, I don't follow what people do on Instagram because I don't believe that that's real. You understand? I work hard, and I've been doing it for 13 years now, diligently, every single day, and it's just now people start saying, who is this girl, Kris Kelli? Because even when I started working with Black 5 years ago, when I first moved up here to Atlanta, fresh from Jamaica, we started from scratch. I said I wanted to work on brand new material, and I kind of wanted Jamaican people who knew me at the time to kind of forget me, because you have to understand the Jamaican music business moves very fast. If you don't put out 10 songs a week, you're lame. You understand? That's just how it is. If you don't put out a music video a week, you're lame. So by me moving to Atlanta, I made a sacrifice and said, listen, I'm leaving the dance hall. Not like I'm leaving it, but I'm taking it to another level. But for me to do that, I kind of have to leave a little behind. People going to forget about me, and people going to say, Kris Kelli, you're not even doing the music business anymore, until they start seeing certain things and say, you know, Kris Kelli she's working in Atlanta, until they start seeing stuff and start saying, okay. I get so much emails every day from people saying, Kris Kelli, your story is crazy because you don't even talk about what you've been through, but we watch you and we see you. So it took somebody like Black, who is my manager, to kind of magnify that. So it's all about having a good manager. It's all about positioning, and it's a relationship game. Don't forget that.
Key to that, folks, relationships.
I can talk all day about that.
That's what we have right there. All right, so if you will, pass it to Tamiko. I want to ask you an awesome question here, Tamiko, being that you do come from the publicist standpoint as well. How important is that relationship, even between the publicist and the manager, for that artist? Because a lot of folks, even for us at the studio, they come to us and they'll get the record recorded, mixed, and mastered, and they're like, I'm ready to go, but where am I going? I don't know. I don't know who my fan base is. I don't know how to reach the media. Can you talk about, from that perspective, how important it is, again, for an artist to have that relationship with their manager and a potential publicist?
Well, a relationship between a publicist and a manager is extremely important. Many times, if not all the time, I worked mostly with management versus the artist. Like anything I need to get done, interviews I need to do, I always go through the manager because I feel like if I go through the artist, it may not happen. But when I connect with the manager, I know that he or she will be able to assist me in making, making those interviews and whatever appointments I have set up happen. And it also gives a little bit of accountability as well, because that means that, I have to be in contact with the manager because he may have, or again, she may have things scheduled for the artist, and we need to be able to coordinate that. So it's extremely important. I mean, there have been times when I haven't spoken to the artist in, weeks, but I constantly, day-to-day, talk to management.
Thank you. So he snuck up here, but what's up? We got Delante Murphy. How we doing today, sir?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Doing well. Thank you for coming out tonight. So I want you to jump right into this as well. So I was asking TJ earlier, again, what are some of the things that, even for you, your day-to-day routine from a management standpoint, things that you got to take care of from the time that you wake up to the time that you end your evening? From a management standpoint?
Man, my morning usually starts around 6-something in the morning. I'm up. I usually use that time for meditation because a lot of times as a manager, I think that sometimes we have to have that quiet time for ourselves to kind of see where we need to go for that day. And I think when I was early in management, I didn't do that because you want to be everywhere, do everything. You up late in the studio, and that became important to me. Just to hear my own thoughts and actually hear what the artist said the day before. Because there's a lot of things that are subliminal or things of body language that as managers we tend to sometimes overtalk our artists and we think we're not actively listening. But when you're quiet, you can be like, they really wasn't feeling what I was saying, but they just rolled with it. So let me figure out, to make them comfortable. So it usually starts with that. Today was typically, I jumped right up and I started shooting out emails. I try to shoot out emails. Usually I'll put them in draft and I'll send them out at 10 o'clock. That's my little secret because I looked up research and most people check their email at 10 o'clock in corporate America. So if you don't know, if you send it late at night, they're not going to get it because there's emails in front of you. You send it too early, somebody sent one at 9:30, and right around 10 o'clock, that's like a statistical fact, right? So I send them all out at 10 o'clock, and usually I get a response within an hour and a half because that's what people are doing. Today I went and talked to the people who were in charge of the SoundCloud playlist. I don't know if y'all really get it, but playlist is the new radio. So you need to know whoever's doing the playlist at at Spotify and all these type of things. You need to know who that is. If you notice in our industry right now, a lot of the people who are players in video or corporate people, how many people know Leo Cohen just went to YouTube?
Yes.
We know that, right?
No, me to know.
Troy Carter is where? Anybody know where Troy Carter is? Spotify. These are major industry people who have gone to the platforms. I don't even know if we even realize anymore what that means. That means that that's a lot of power outside of the labels with just the actual platform where the listeners are going. So I want to know what they know. I want to know. So I called and said, hey, I got this artist, that artist, and this artist. How do I get your 2.5 million playlist? That's what I did this morning for 3 hours or whatever, right? Talking to the people at SoundCloud as far as what are their algorithms, is there any special positioning? There's not. That's the unique thing about SoundCloud or whatever. So that was the first part of my day. The second part of my day was going and hiring a back-end company to actually do a lot of, I want to say internet promotions or more media promotions. I just left Atlantic Records as an A&R, and part of the reason for me leaving is because I feel like that there's no artist development. So I don't think no artist should be pressed to get a record deal with a major record label. I truly believe that. You're talking to a man who just left the inside. I think that you are better off developing yourself, doing your sound, getting your team together and grinding, because getting to a record, the other part over there is nothing but a bunch of bullshit. It's a lot of hurry up and wait when you were by yourself in your dorm room or in your room in your studio where you would go. You gotta get permission from everybody and everything take too long. So pretty much my day was built on that. I also got a couple of videos commissioned for a couple of new artists. I chased down that royalty check from Warner, from the old Trey songs days, which are lovely royalty check. So as a manager, you gotta go back and check and make sure that all your royalties and your points of the artist that you represented is getting those. So every quarter, and I'm sure my man right here can know that, the fiscal year ends in September, right? Every September, anybody who's ever made any money in the music game with a record label, they get a huge royalty check, usually in September and April. So September is the day that everybody's smiling going to October 1st. So the day I chased that check down and got that direct deposit. So that was part of my day, making sure all my clients associated with that. So pretty much that was my day, and then going to Patchwerks versus coming here by accident, thinking that.
So what I want to know, and again, really, we can kind of bring the mic back up to TJ, if you don't mind, pass the mic over to TJ. All right, so one thing that Butter said that was very interesting to me is, again, artist development. How are you able to work with your particular artists to get them to even the stature where they're at now? And of course, with social media now, that kind of adds on to it, but that beginning process for, again, like Scotty ATL, who's been here for years, how did you work the market to get him to where he's at, the stature where he's at now?
It's about consistent work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny how many artists I meet that say they grinding, and like, what is the grind? And what's your perspective of the grind doesn't even compete with these guys that's doing it every day for a living. You know what I'm saying? And so, as far as the artist development part of it, man, it's just about recording. You know what I'm saying? Like consistently recording, making music, working with different producers, working with different writers, understanding these things, getting out here and perfecting your craft. Like one of the things with Scotty is over the last 18, 20 months, he's been on 3 national tours. So he did 44 cities with B.o.B, 39 cities with Kris, and I think 23 with I Am Sue. And so all this stuff basically is like practice. It puts him in front of people every single night where he has to perform. Different cities, different states, so it's like different crowds like different music, and you have to learn how to adjust, and you have to, and all these things help you develop and make you become who you are. When I met Scotty, he was dope. He could rap his ass off, but the first thing that I told him, I went in a session and listened to music, and all the songs, like he was rapping his ass off. But when we was done, I didn't remember the hook to one. And it was like, dog, like you dope, but you don't know how to make songs. You don't make singles. And for him, I guess that was inspiration. So he called me again about a month and a half later. I went back to the studio. He played me these records, and I was blown away. And was just like, yo, what, did I miss these last time, or did I just not hear them? And he was like, nah. He was like, last time we met, what you told me was real. And it really inspired me. And so all these songs I just played for you, they all brand new. And it blew me away. But it's just a process. You know what I'm saying? Even with like B.o.B, he's had a ton of success. But it's crazy that a lot of that success came from his gift. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people just go in and make records. They don't know what's good, what's slamming. They just have good feelings about it. And it took him having a conversation with us one day, just asking, like, yo, you gotta say this verse is dope, this shit is fire. Like, what makes this verse dope over this one? I like them all. And we broke it down to him. And then ever since that day, he understands how to make fucking hit songs. You know what I'm saying? But it's all part of the process, and it's not gonna happen unless you're out here doing it. And if you're not out here doing it, you're not gonna grow at the proper rate that you're supposed to grow. And it's just never gonna happen.
You pass it to Amina. Now again, but you said it again, like we live in a time where artist development seems to be lost amongst the superiors. So again, Amina, for even like your artists, how do you go about, again, I guess grooming them? Is it sort of like TJ said, you just gotta get out here and do shows, or is it similar to like you have like the rehearsals? And let's talk about that.
It's because I found a lot of Southern artists in the urban space, in our game, they don't like to necessarily rehearse. They don't like to
Practice?
like they don't
Talking
like to
about
practice. They feel like they can just get on stage and they'll just wing it. You know what I mean? We're gonna do this, but even I remember like Pee Wee, Doug, like we were all out here. A bunch of other like newer artists, like we were not dogs yet, but in the 10-17 days, like when everyone was recording out of this brick factory before Gucci got locked up, everyone was in the grind. Like their work ethic is unmatched. Gucci's work ethic is unmatched. Thug, Pee Wee, they all have that same kind of grind that was instilled by the track guy. You know what I mean? So when I'm telling you like unmatched, I'm saying like, you know that because Thug records, you're there, Curtis there, when Gucci and Thug are recording, and they literally put out or can make 50, 60 songs a week. You know, so the things that they do is ridiculous. So that is kind of like you said, it's kind of like their rehearsal right there. But as we've grown and as they've reached new heights, now like Gucci will rehearse. You know, he'll have a rehearsal space. You know, you can't charge people 6-7 figures like promoters and festivals and go to colleges and not rehearse. You know what I mean? At a certain point in time, people expect a show. You know, it's cool when you're doing soft tickets. Soft ticket means like club dates, you know what I mean? So if you're gonna go to the Gold Room, then yeah, you know, your track is playing, you grab the mic, hey, what's up, yeah, and you're singing over your voice. But now if you're playing Coachella, it's not the same thing. You're playing 20, 30,000 people, they not want to see you just sing over a track, and you know what I mean? So they're almost forced when you get to a certain point to become the artist that, you know, like I feel like the media kind of forces you to play that role and to become what it is that your fans expect to see or what your fans think that you are. Something that I try to tell the boys to do, or the girls, or anybody, because I manage females as well, it's like, just be humble. You know what I mean? Like, this was a blessing, this is a God-given talent. I can't get out there and be an artist, because if I was, people would be my manager. And listen, I run up all the check. How much money you got? 25? We do this. You know what I mean? So it's like nothing is above you. Like, it should not be a point where you're like, well, I'm too big for the A3C fest. I can't come here and do this. Why not? Like, why is that? You know what I mean? Like, or I'm too big to do this. You're never too big to do anything. You know what I mean? We all bleed the same way. It's all, none of us are omnipotent. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of things that we moved away from. I've met tons of producers over the past couple of years. No one can read music. No one can play the piano. You know, like no one, but you're a producer, but you're a musician. But you can pull the tracks off of whatever site, and then when I take it to Kurt, they're like, you got 700 samples in this. How we gonna, you know what I mean? And then the label's like, how we gonna clear this? When I take it to Atlanta, like, we can't clear this. You got a sample from Prince on here. You know what I mean? But it's because we've moved, I feel like, away from the music in some regard. You know what I mean? And talent is no longer, it's lost. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got a snappy look and you have a dope beat. So now that's a, top 10 song. But your song is on auto-tune, so now when you have to perform it in front of 20,000 people, you sound like Jiminy Cricket. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of things that I think that we moved away from in developing artists and managers as well. Like, it's dope to get your best friend from the block to be your manager, but at the end of the day, your best friend from the block is not a manager. You understand what I'm saying? He's somebody that you can trust. And yeah, he should run your entourage. He should probably be your road manager, but he probably should not be your manager and walk into Spotify and meet Tuma and ask, you know what I mean? Because, and these different kind of things, and you don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? So nothing to take away from that, but artist development is definitely important and we should get back to it.
Jules, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I definitely want to chime in because I think Lear Cohen actually recently said that artist development is the missing link now in the music industry, and I even posted that on Instagram because I wholeheartedly agree. I started my career interning at LaFace, and that was during the time when, Tony Braxton was there, Outkast, you had, of course, Goody Mob, Usher, and the one thing I will say I learned, as a kid at that time, was that artist development is key, and they really believed in rehearsing the artists. They did media training, their bios were written professionally. They invested, that's kind of the point, they invested in these things. They had choreographers, and they did all of this before they even booked one show. And I think the one thing that I've seen a lot of artists do is they want to do it after they make it. Like, I'll, rehearse after I get booked, I'll, do media training after I get that interview with XXL. But you have to be prepared and ready now in order to take advantage of the opportunities. There have been countless times where I've seen artists catch a hit and the hit take off, and they're not prepared, and they miss opportunities, and I know we've all seen it. Another point I wanted to make too was, I manage DJ Princess Cut, and Princess Cut has been the official DJ at Neiman Marcus for almost 9 years now. And in addition to that, like, she's done tons of like free events, like pro bono work. And when we got booked to DJ the Atlanta show for Oprah, when Oprah came here in 2014, their initial intent was to hire a DJ for every city that we did the tour, or that Oprah was doing the tour. And Atlanta just so happened, God did it, but Atlanta was the first stop. And because Princess Cut was so skilled, and she knew how to work a crowd, she knew how to adapt to unexpected changes, like when they needed to change certain things in the show, she knew how to do it. And because of that, Oprah's people were like, Tamiko, what can we do to get her to go on the rest of the tour? Like, whatever it takes, we want her on the rest of the tour. So that's part of artist development. So when you're doing these shows, I see artists, because they don't have the number of people in the audience that they want to see, they don't want to do the show. And I'm like, come on, like, that's part of your artist development. Like, use the opportunity to practice, use the opportunity to learn how to hold a mic, how to, interact with the crowd. At the least, you can get footage to put on, you know what I'm saying, your EPK or whatever. So, excuse me, so I think that's one of the things that I've seen too. I also, do PR for Zaytoven. And as we recently saw, he opened the BET Awards with Gucci. He also was at MTV with Future this year for Future's debut for the MTV Video Awards. And the one thing that Zay plays the piano every single day. He plays every single day, whether he wants to or not. And that's why that man was on stage at those concerts. So again, you got to do, if you really want to be in this business, if you really want to do this, if you say you want to do it, you will do this every single day, whether you want to or not. When I interviewed Metro Boomin for his bio, the one thing he said was you also have to focus. A lot of people want to be models, they want to DJ, they want to be the artist, they want to be the producer. You got to pick one thing, focus, invest in that, and just, practice.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. First of all, the labels don't want to pay for artist development. So you got to do it yourself. So don't fool you. It's a missing element that the money's not there to do. That's why I left. Because you can't. Here's the thing. I asked the artist, I'm not going to say their name, my manager, and it was like, Beyonce wouldn't be in the studio. Alicia Keys wouldn't be in the studio. And I said, okay, I got you. I went back, did my meditation. I came back with their work schedule, what they do every day. And then you know what the artist said? I don't want to be Beyonce. But you want Beyonce treatment, but you don't want it. Beyonce's artist development started with her father and that woman who found them and had them running and singing when she was 8. That's when it started. That started there. Everybody want to be Michael Jackson and say his name all the time, but no one wants to carry cinder blocks from one end of the backyard to the other and be beat if they hit the wrong note. That started when he was 5, right? Prince played music and that guitar every day. He even had a story where his first manager who did the first album cut the radio off in the hotel when they were sleeping in the same hotel together. And he said, don't you ever cut the radio off, because even when I'm asleep, I'm working on music. So here's the thing. part of the issue I got with this whole artist development thing is artists and a label will look on YouTube, see 9 million views, sign the artist, and like they just said, the artist isn't prepared for the success of the record. That's why we don't have any superstars. The only reason Beyonce, Usher, even Drake at this point, any of these guys are, and Chris Brown is so talented, even on his half work day, he better than every other R&B artist, you know, in that lane, right? They work every day, and until somebody come and outwork them, they will be at the top until somebody sit there and say, this is what I'm gonna do to take them out. Drake is #1 because he has a team and he records a whole bunch of records. R. Kelly, I met him a few times. R. Kelly recorded in his basement every day 5 songs, even to the point if he missed a wrong note, he would take a part of his clothing off. Not get into his personal business, but some days he'd be down there naked and the engineer got to look down because that's how bad he wanted to get the song on. I have not met really any artist in the last 5 years that has that work ethic. Not one. Not one that's come to get signed. I refuse to sign somebody until I find somebody who's really putting it in. And it's gotten to the point where if you ever go to my Instagram, which is Butter Murphy, I started playing the guitar, right? Taught myself how to play on YouTube. I would get up after I meditate and I play an hour a day, taking stuff on YouTube. You know why I did it? Because I wanted a freaking black artist that played guitar. And I figured if somebody's gonna say, here's a manager or A&R that's learning and playing guitar and playing on these records, whatever. And you know who came? Not a black person, a star white guy, Luke, remember that name, came and he played the hell out the guitar. You know what I mean? So until we really, the label's not gonna pay for it, so you gotta do it, your management gotta do it. You know what I mean? You have to go do dance rehearsals. You gotta go learn how to do the mic. You know, me, I'm the type of guy, manager, and I know TJ is, and the rest of you guys, for me, I took Trevor Jackson on a tour that the label didn't want to go on. I didn't just go on the tour. I didn't really trust in his show, but you know, he had a great show when he presented to me. So I said, you know what, we're gonna get it right, and I DJ'd for him. Because I wanted to be right there on stage to know, to make sure that I could tell him, you're singing too many riffs, cut it off, and that was part of development, being in it, because they're not gonna pay for it. You know what I mean? You gotta put in the work.
Yeah, something you want to say? I just was gonna say something real quick. I'm not a manager by any means, but as a personality in radio and what I do, I host a lot of parties, and so I know I'm not, you know, in front of a stage rapping every day, but I actually practice all the time and prepare myself before I even go out there and host in front of 1,000 people when I'm at Mansion on Fridays or wherever I'm at these clubs, or if I'm in front of a birthday bash and it's 25,000 people. I actually go and practice. I rehearse. I have a rehearsal coach. I have an acting coach. And I literally schedule a day for me to go do this during the week, just so I can get it in. Now, some people are like, man, why would you do that? You're already winning. And I'm like, I don't. You have to look at yourself like you're not good enough. I have the mindset like I'm still an intern, so I work as if I'm still trying to get on, and so that way no one can ever beat me, because it's like, if I'm working harder than you and you already think I'm on, and you trying to get on and you're not working as hard and you just went and bought some shoes, you ain't never gonna beat me. So I'm cool, you know what I mean? But you have to have that mindset as an artist to constantly work. I don't care if you're in your car, you're in your mirror, you're in the shower, you're in the bedroom, whatever you do, rehearse with yourself. If you can't afford to act, a coach, just practice. Always work on getting better. Figure out what you can do good, or figure out what you can't do good. And I wanted to say one thing to all the artists out here too. Whatever you think of yourself, always remember that you don't pick your fans pick you. So whatever lane you think you're trying to get into and it's not working, it's probably because people don't see you in that light. So just throw your music out there to the audience and let them decide where they like you at. That's the best way to get things going. There's been plenty of artists that I know that were trying to pop in Atlanta, come by the Dirty Boy show, get me on Battlegrounds, get me an interview. And I remember trying with a couple of artists, right? It just didn't take. But as soon as they went to California, blew up. As soon as they went to Alabama or the outskirts, it took off for whatever reason. And then they had to come back around to Atlanta. Just try not to target a demographic. I'm gonna be the first to say, and I don't care if no one agrees with me, I don't believe in demographics no more. I don't believe in categorizing an age. thing no more. I don't believe in that no more. I've watched artists get deals that were well into their 30s, but they looked young and they got deals. And it wasn't because of their age, it was because their image sold the song. Period. And people bought it. They had a huge following and people were buying the music and da-da-da. I don't care about demographics no more. My own station got mad at me because we're beating our older station and our younger station. And they're like, well, how come you guys are doing this? And I said, because there's no such thing as demographics no more. Hip hop is 50 years old almost. It's not new. So stop trying to categorize everything. Just put it out there, however y'all put it out there, and let it hit the people and let them decide whether they like you or not. And then run with that lane, because I guarantee you, whatever sound you have, someone likes it. There's an audience out there, I promise you.
Facts. Thank you, E.T. So we do have that one question for you, TJ. Here we go.
How y'all doing today? What are some of the newer businesses that y'all are seeing opening up to artists in the hip-hop arena that are up and coming, aside from just technology?
When you say new businesses open
For
up,
example, I'm seeing artists are attaching themselves to more and more things, more and more products, more areas. What are some of the things that are becoming more available that you're aware of? You know, there some things you had to break more doors down to over time. Some, at one time, technology companies may not have been as open, backpack, you know, different items. What are some of the, you know, things from a branding standpoint you see companies coming up and opening?
I mean, one of the number one things for me right now as far as hip hop is weed. The weed, the marijuana industry is wide open. And so these guys are going in buying dispensaries. These guys are going in buying grow houses. They're opening schools to teach people how to grow. They're coming up with their own products, whether it be like a weed lean or some Kush Kool-Aid or, you know what I'm saying? All that, I love all of it. If y'all got some, you know what I'm saying? Don't forgive me. But no, like there's a shitload of money in that weed industry, and you don't have to smoke. And because of the people associated with hip hop, these businesses want to associate themselves with you. And, you know, that's just one of many.
One question I wanted to definitely ask you, Kurt, being that, you know, we both work at the studio and we've had numerous sessions, 8-hour blocks, 12-hour blocks, 15-hour blocks. When we watch artists come in, whose job, whose role is it to manage the time? You know, they come in for the 8-hour blocks and maybe out of 8 hours they did one record. Maybe one, maybe none. But who does that fall upon? I want to talk about that for a moment. Is it the artist? Is that the manager?
I mean, I guess it's on, it probably varies on the camp. But I mean, like I think one of the things that I learned, because before we were a studio, we were a record label. So our first artist was Razzcast. And so me, I always see it all throughout these 20 years where there's a manager or a business person and they really messing up the vibe and the creativity, because just because a person may not be actually rapping in the booth and you feel like he's playing a game or talking on the phone, that may be part of his creative process. So it's really weird when you see like parents and corporate people sign an artist and they look at an artist and be like, you've been in the studio 8 hours and you only did one record. But all of what they were doing in those 8 hours, whether they were smoking weed, drinking, shooting dice, playing pool, talking to their homie, going outside, was creating what they came up with. So it's weird that I know better than I just see people mess up sessions by saying like, come on man, you're wasting time. Like, you need to get in there, you need to do this or whatever. So it's really about who, you know, like I always tell people, I feel like music doesn't have any rules. So it's whatever you kind of worked out with your camp who's responsible. But I think that if the artist is in the studio, whether they're recording or doing anything, I feel like they actually work it, because that'll probably come out in the song. So it's weird. A lot of people just think from corporate America, you can say, hey, we're gonna do a song an hour, and I don't think it works like that. I used to be like that with Raz, be like, man, we booked this studio time, you wasted all this damn time, you was on the phone, and they told me to quit coming to the studio, you know what I mean? So, you know, I think it's part of the process, in my opinion.
Now again, everybody out here in the audience, I do want to open this up, because again, this is a Q&A, so again, if you do have questions, you can raise your hand, I'll bring over the mic to you so you can ask your questions to our awesome panelists here. Is there any questions at the time? Stand on up, my friend. What do you got to say?
How y'all doing? I'm Zaytoven, Xavier. I've met a couple of you before, and it's been a pleasure to meet every one of you. My question is, we've addressed more so the artistry form of seeking management, but I am the producer that read the A to Z book that you co-wrote, and so I do make those 10 beats a day. I didn't know how to read music, I still don't, but I am the producer that has trained my ear to be able to play by ear. Where I'm snagged is the consistency of meeting artists that don't consider investing in themselves as serious as I do. I have no 50 when it comes to music. It's either 0 or 100 with me, and I don't meet anybody that meets that prerequisite of 100 that I have. So is management the missing link to that puzzle that I have, or PR? And that's
Is that a question about meeting an artist?
No, it's as far as a producer seeking management, is is that the next move for me, seeing as I keep getting snagged by independent artists that are supposedly pursuing artistry, but they're not wholeheartedly pursuing it, as far as they're hesitant to invest in themselves.
Okay, this is gonna be my. I think that this is the right answer. If this doesn't help, just tell me to shut up. But as a producer. Part of being a producer, which is lost, is pulling something out of the artist and making them more than what they are. So if you're running into a snag, look at yourself and say, okay, what am I not doing to communicate with this person? A lot of you guys don't know, I've had records with a lot of major people, right? But it wasn't until about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I ran into an actual producer. Someone that made the beat from scratch, knows how to read music, play. He's an older guy, but he's educated on all the new stuff. So it's good for me because he knows all the old tricks with the new technology. But he was able to put me in the booth and say, do it again. I said, what you talking about, bro? It's hot. Do it again. I remember one time we got in a screaming argument. He was like, you see how your voice is lost? I said, yeah. He said, now rap the song. And he developed the situation without having the emotion involved in the fact that he was pissed off that I was mad and that I might be stunting something. So you have to, as a producer, develop these artists because they don't know. You're actually gonna have to do more than your beat job. You're gonna have to develop them, and it is what it is. There's no artist development no more, there's no understanding no more, so you're having more than one hat.
So I'll have to, in essence, take these artists on as my artists and then in turn invest in them?
I didn't say that! I just said produce them. But listen, you're gonna have to produce them. My songs that I have now, quality-wise and sound-wise, are crapping on anything I did like 5 years ago. But the producer found a way to connect with me to get me to listen and understand that, hey, yes, that song was dope, but let's pull something out of you that you might not know was there. He produced me, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna add to that too, because I don't want to assume that. I'm assuming that you do beats and you send them over MP3, they record it and send it back to you.
No, wave files, like I've been with ASCAP since 04.
Right, but are you there when they do the records? Most of the time I am, yes. My point with that was, to me, I think a lot of music sound crappy, and not just that the people are not talented, it's just that because of technology and because of funding being low, people send you an MP3. So what you're saying is correct, but 9 times out of 10, we'll give records a track and we'll record to it, and the producer never gets an opportunity to come in and work with the artist, and we'll be like, this is what it is. Sometimes they're not happy. Well, I would have did it different. The problem is now we're not having real producers because that young budding person that would be a Dr. Dre never got in the studio with Snoop. Or the reason why 40 and Drake are so dope because they're there together. And 40 is pushing them. It's not getting an MP3 and Drake is in another part of the country. They're there as a unit and like, you can do it better. Let's try something. And shoot, let's get a ghostwriter.
See, that's
you know what I mean?
And And I just want to add, it reminds me, you said you read the book that I co-wrote with Zay, A to Zay. One of the things that I really respect about him, he has been independent since he came into this industry. And at the time, Zay was working at a barbershop. Like, he was in barber school, and that's how he met Gucci. And from what I remember him telling me, like, Gucci had an artist that he was trying to push. He wasn't even trying to rap. And so they would come over to Gucci's house, over to Zay's house, and, Gucci was trying to coach the guy that he was, trying to, push, but Zay saw something in Gucci, and that's when he started, like, you are the one that needs to be rapping. And so he developed Gucci's sound. So from my perspective, since I work with a lot of producers, I think you need to, listen and find an artist that you feel like you can grow with, because when I think of, like, I used to do PR for DJ Toon, and of course Toon, did T.I., pretty much to me gave T.I. his sound when he first started. And then you have, Zay and Gucci. I think about, Metro and Future, you know what I'm saying? And even Sunny and Future. So, you gotta, I feel like, and Sunny started actually working with Gorilla Zoe at the beginning. So I think it's about, kind of finding somebody that you believe in and then working with them. And that comes too through going out, meeting people, listening, for sounds, going on, YouTube or wherever, social media, and, trying to find somebody. And my last point, the artist Q, the guy who did Bobby Johnson, he's from Germany. And he did the song, the OG Bobby Johnson for Q. And when I talked to Bobby Johnson, the producer, he was saying that he would go through social media and find artists that were on the cusp. They weren't there yet, but they were just kind of on the cusp. But in addition to that, somebody that he felt like he could help and align himself with. And that's how he got started. So.
Two, make sure you collaborate. Like, I think once again, technology got everybody using Fruity Loops, and you in your house by yourself, and you sounded like everybody else. And I was on opera too, by the way. That's kind of cool. And going to performing arts high school to sing an opera, if you wanted to learn a new riff or a new piano riff, you had to go to the guy more talented than you and stand over his head and watch him do something. Then you added it. Y'all did records together or whatever y'all did. So a lot of times you gotta get out your own ego and start moving around. Because here's the deal. You could be saying you're making a lot of records, but you can go in another studio and collab with another producer who may have an artist that's on point, and now you're not just in your house no more with those producers. Now you're in his house. And you got records over there that you're spreading yourself around. And I think most of Atlanta right now, when I'm rolling through the studios, a lot of these guys, which I'm very proud of, you might see Metro and Sunny in the studio together. Their egos are not, 808 Mafia to me is a great example of them all getting together, making records, and they all then learn from each other. And they gladly share within that crew. So start spreading yourself out and start learning. Treat the person that you're in business with the way you would want to be treated. No freaking secrets. Y'all open relationship, you talking. It's no different than being in a marriage. You know what I mean? And that's true loyalty. And if loyalty comes to the point where it's not working in you in two different directions, then it shouldn't be no hard feelings, because you're not going to owe that person nothing because you made sure they was taken care of because it was what it was. You get it? But y'all don't turn on somebody, all y'all new hit artists. You will, but just remember you heard it first.
When I take drugs. Breaking back.